Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hello, my name is Blake Dolphin. Thank you for your time in attending this presentation about KFC and their chicken crisis shortage in the United Kingdom in 2018. This is going to be the agenda for our presentation. First, we will discuss a few terms and define image repair theory, what a crisis is, and the crisis communication plan. I will then inform you guys, the audience, of the KFC chicken crisis. We will then evaluate their response methods and strategies, and then we will wrap this thing up by assessing what they did good and how they can improve. These are the three terms that we're going to start off by defining to just kind of give us the foundation of this presentation, which is crisis, image repair theory, and the crisis communication plan. According to Alan Zaremba, a crisis is a major unpredictable event that can significantly damage an organization and its employees. Next, we have image repair theory. An image repair theory outlines strategies that are used to preserve or restore a company's reputation and credibility. The focus of the theory is to restore a company's image to keep a positive reputation in their industry. It is most useful during a crisis or any time that threatens a company's public image. And lastly, we have crisis communication plan. A crisis communication plan is a predetermined plan that is executed to combat a crisis when it occurs. Every company should have a crisis communication plan in place. There are a ton of different crises in the world, and it's impossible for a company to prepare for each and every crisis that could happen. But a company should have a plan in place for those that are most likely to affect them. Next, we have image repair strategies. There are 5 primary strategies used to restore a organization's image. These strategies are denial, evasion of responsibility, reducing offensiveness, corrective action, and mortification. Denial occurs whenever a company is forced to defend themselves against the suspicions of attacks. Next, we have the evasion of responsibility, which is whenever a company evades or reduces apparent responsibility for an act. An example of this would be placing blame on someone else to try to remove yourself from the crisis. We have reducing offensiveness, which is whenever an organization attempts to reduce the degree of ill feeling experienced by the audience. A good example of this is whenever a company downplays the seriousness of a situation, or they poke fun at the mishap to make it feel like it was less likely of an event, that it just didn't have as big of an effect. Another strategy is corrective action, which occurs when a company vows to fix the problem that they created. This could be either by terminating employees or requiring additional training for current and new employees to make sure that this problem doesn't happen again. The last strategy is mortification. This is when a company acknowledges that their wrongful acts and they ask for forgiveness. This usually happens when they just try to keep the crisis from prolonging itself and just stopping the damage of what has been done. How did KFC respond to the chicken crisis? I'm first going to explain the situation to just inform you guys of what the chicken crisis actually is. In 2018, some 800 KFC restaurants in the United Kingdom were forced to temporarily close their doors due to chicken not being delivered. Of course, it's difficult for a chicken restaurant to operate without chicken. Turns out there was some miscommunication between KFC and their new delivery partner, DHL, a company out of Germany. The United Kingdom is KFC's 5th largest market and the largest in Europe. KFC responded to their chicken crisis with a couple different strategies. They made light of the event by running an ad with an empty chicken bucket. They also shuffled the letter KFC around to read FCK, illustrating a bad word. Another response they took was mentioning DHL and the mishap. Even though DHL responded by saying that this mishap was not their fault, it was an action they took to take a portion of the blame away from their own company. For the most part, KFC accepted responsibility for the crisis. I believe that they used 3 different strategies in their response. The first one was reducing offensiveness. They did this by making jokes of the situation so it did not seem as serious of a problem as what it actually was. Next, evasion of responsibility. By mentioning the miscommunication with DHL, they evaded full responsibility for the event, and they shifted a portion of this crisis, the crisis fault, to DHL. Lastly was mortification. By accepting the majority of the responsibility, we now have the analysis of their response. A lot of this is sort of repeating myself from the previous slide, but I applaud them for their efforts, and I believe they chose the right strategies and executed them in a successful way. Like I mentioned, they did a good job poking fun at themselves by running the empty bucket of chicken and shuffling the KFC letters around. One thing, though, that I did not mention that I applaud KFC for is continuing to compensate their workers for the time they missed during their shutdown. Like you and I, those people count on their jobs to be able to provide for their families and to live their daily lives. So I give KFC props for stepping up to the plate and going ahead and paying them rather than trying to cut pay to reduce the loss that they already incurred during this period of the shutdown. Overall assessment. So in this we're going to mention a few improvements we think they can make and then something that possibly other companies could take from them. So my first improvement is social media communication. I did not find any records of KFC communicating via social media, and I think this would be a cheap, quick, and easy way to continuously communicate with their audience throughout the crisis. Just to make sure their message they are delivering on a public platform like that must be accurate and consistent. Another improvement would be how can they make sure this doesn't happen again? I think this would be beneficial because it shows the public that we are aware we messed up and we're going to take the necessary steps to make sure it doesn't happen again. A couple things that I think other companies should pay to KFC is how they made a joke out of the entire situation. They made a crisis that cost them a lot of money into a big laugh, and arguably it even strengthened their public image being able to do this. Other companies should also acknowledge how they treated their employees during the time of this unfortunate circumstance. I would like to thank you all for your time in attending this presentation, and I would like to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Is there anything you think they should have done better besides what they did?
Yes, I think what they should have done better was, I think them and DHL could have released a joint statement on how they're going to go moving forward to make sure that their chicken is delivered so that their stores can operate at full capacity. Thank you for attending my presentation.